Auzubillahiminash-shaytanir-rajeem. Bismillahir-rahmanir-rahim. Assalamu-alaikum. Ji ayanu, pakhair agale, ni hao, chunashumme, washmale. Ohaya Gonzalez, guten Morgen, hola, bonjour, privet, kaifa hal? Hale shuba chatore, ahlan wa sahlan, marhaba. Buna, mucho gracias, swabia, balli kare aaya. Hosh galden and ayo, huyamora, chivato, chihal, kalimera. Khairutan, and a very warm welcome to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World This Morning. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope and pray that everybody out there is doing wonderfully well and that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. Well, I happen to be Shahzad Hasan Khan, and every single day, every single morning, ladies and gentlemen, there's only one urge that I have, and that is to be over here in front of my audiences and make sure that every word that I utter out of my mouth makes sense. Not just that, I think in the perspective of making sure that I give information which is useful, which is relatable, and in addition to that, send prayers for all of those people who are out there. So I hope that everybody's doing great, that you're ready to kickstart your day with us. But for everybody who's still craving for a cup of coffee, ladies and gentlemen, you certainly are out of time now. You probably need your domestic help to hand you over that cup of coffee, because today you just can't move away from your screens, and there's a reason behind it. Now imagine for me to get started with my day with probably, I think highs and hellos from 20 or 30 different languages is actually because of the fact that I truly understand that my audiences live in 47 different countries and over across 3 or 4 continents. So my sole purpose over here, ladies and gentlemen, is to be making sure that each and every individual gets their highs and hellos, that too with the level of energy that I maintain, and in addition to that, so that I can connect with them. Now, when we talk about connectivity, relatability, let me be very honest over here, because imagine that my journey with Pakistan television, PTV World in particular, started back in 2013. I was working with a private channel, and that was the time when people wouldn't really advise me to kind of jump from a private channel to a public institute as huge as Pakistan television, because they would say, hey, you know what, who's going to watch it? But ladies and gentlemen, alhamdulillah, 11 years down the line, this seed which has actually grown into a tree and is giving a lot of fruit is because of the fact that the then government thought that Pakistan needs to have their only English channel in the country. And that's how PTV World came into being, and I happen to be one of those people who right from the very beginning have been with the channel. Now there's a reason. Now imagine for a Pakistan, or as a Pakistani, I back then thought, I believe that I was somewhat around 24 or 25 years old, if I'm not lying, because it's been 11 years that I've been working with the channel. I thought that, hey, you know what, imagine that, some very well-educated youngsters working for Pakistan television will set the image in the world. And the communication mode was certainly English, so that for people to understand that there are people in Pakistan who learn, who can do better, and they can communicate with the world. The rest, ladies and gentlemen, is history. Why am I talking about this today? There's a reason behind it. Ladies and gentlemen, today actually happens to be English Language Day. And when we speak of the language English, we do know that it's the 3rd most common spoken language all over the world. Wherever you may probably go, the first words you might utter will be from the language English, and it's because of the fact that that's how people would communicate. I still remember that the last time when I was in France, I started speaking in English, and they said to me, hey, you know what, we certainly we do know how to speak English, but we do not appreciate that. People will have their own preferences, but we still cannot be ignorant as a pigeon, and it's because of the fact that this is that language with which people communicate internationally, go beyond borders, and have contributed towards the development and progress of a lot of nations. May it be medicine, may it be engineering, may it be aerodynamics, may it be anything all over the world, ladies and gentlemen. You will find always relevant information, data, and knowledge to grasp, and that too in the language English. Why are we talking about it? And why do you think that it is so important for us to talk about it? We have guests over here, very rightfully, and I believe that, when I kind of got the script and everything, I was like, yeah, wow, I think it's a fantastic job done. So that gentleman who's actually put in a lot of effort in making sure that we highlight the significance of this language and the importance of this day. We're very lucky, ladies and gentlemen, that we've been joined by His Excellency Ambassador Salahuddin Chaudhary, who happens to be a former diplomat as well. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, sir.
Wassalamu alaikum, and good morning to you as well.
Thank you so much, sir, for joining us. Wonderful to have you over here and alongside him. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who actually happens to be the Acting Director Communications, Second Secretary, British High Commission, Islamabad. She is Miss Sneha Lala. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Walaikum assalam. Good morning. Really happy to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful to have you over here. It feels like as if England has come down to Pakistan television studios. It's wonderful to have you over here. And alongside her, we are very lucky, ladies and gentlemen, because imagine, so English language, if we are to kind of speak about it, there's no way that we do not talk about William Shakespeare. You know, each and every one of us have studied his poems as well. He's one of the best playwrights the world has ever seen as well. He was one of those gentlemen who actually coined terms in English language. For example, fashionable. I don't think that people might know about it as well. Par extraordinaire. So we certainly needed a poet over here as well. So we're very lucky that we've been joined by a poetess who happens to be Miss Madiha Hanif. Hello, assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Good morning. Walaikum assalam. Good to be here as always.
Thank you so much for joining us. Wonderful to have you over here. So, Slaudin Saab, how are you, sir? How are you doing today?
Thank you very much. And thank you for having me with you in
Thank you so much, sir.
special program.
Thank you so much, sir. It's kind of you. My team told me that you have a surprise for us as well. So I'm still waiting for that surprise. If there's a surprise, please give it to my audiences too.
Okay. Indeed. It is a surprise, my dear viewers. It's a special day. That's what the surprise is coming. And the surprise, it will include a little bit of performance, dramatic.
Wow.
Okay.
I can't wait.
And because it's a recitation, and I'll be playing the role of Hamlet.
Wow.
Okay?
Yeah.
Right. A little bit of drama. To be or not to be? To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer. Whether it's nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune. To be or not to be, that is the question, whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms, against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them, or to take arms against a sea of trouble, and by opposing end them.
Wow. 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 Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for this beautiful surprise. And that too on such an important day as well, where we're talking about English Language Day. Thank you so much, sir, for gracing the occasion. Thank you so much for putting that drama into it as well. Which is why, there's one question which I need to ask you before, kind of move on with the script. And that is, so do you think that, when we speak of William Shakespeare, he was one of the greatest, obviously, there's no doubt about it. Do you think he was a fantastic playwright? Do you think that he was a fantastic poet? How do you explain William Shakespeare and his contribution to the English language?
Right. Shehzad, like you said earlier, William Shakespeare, one should describe him, or he is to be described as poet par excellence.
True, par extraordinaire.
Par extraordinaire, you said that, right? It's true. And William Shakespeare is not only known as a dramatist, not only known as a player, because he used to also act in the theatre in London.
True.
And he's also a very good sonnet writer. Sonnet, he wrote about 154 sonnets.
Yeah.
And sonnet is a special kind of a poetry.
Exactly.
I'll talk about it later. But William Shakespeare cannot have equivalent from that point of view, because he's a totality of three different calibers. That's it, William Shakespeare.
Exactly.
That's why we love him, we respect him, we give him the honor.
And speaking of English Language Day, so in this context, how would you kind of signify, how would you magnify his contributions? And do you think that, when we're going to speak about English Language Day, it's going to be only William Shakespeare, or there can be other people as well?
Sure, not at all. Tremendous contribution William Shakespeare made towards the development of English language.
True.
Right? But of course, it has been there for a long, long time. English language today has a special meaning. 23rd April, okay?
Yeah.
And United Nations, particularly UNESCO, United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO,
yes.
They, after going through a series of discussions and thinking and research, thought they got to find a way to make English as one of the prime languages. Why? Because it is the main language. It used to be right in the beginning. English was the main language of interpretation,
True.
main language of expression, so on. So in 2010, what happened is UNESCO determined 23rd of April as the day, because it's William Shakespeare's birthday, to designate as a World English Language.
Exactly. So yeah, I don't think that there's anything left to say about that as well, and of his multitude of contributions towards the English language. But in addition to this, because the last time when I was in Germany, I realized that Allama Iqbal has played a very important and pivotal role as well. So our Shair-e Mashriq, so this is something that that we would kind of refer to him as well. The ideological father of the country actually kind of paid rich tribute to William Shakespeare as well. And I think, Sneha, that you have something for us to share on that, right?
I think it's just fantastic how you see the connections between the two of them, right? So Shakespeare and Allama Iqbal, they both have a universal sense of reaching people with their language, with their poetry, and I think you can really see from those connections, and also the connections of Shakespeare and other poets, whether it's in Pakistan, whether it's in the UK, whether it's all across the world, just how much those connections reverberate. And the reason they reverberate is because actually it just rings true today, doesn't it? Like what they write about, you listen to it now and it rings true when you listen to it today. But I think in terms of a recitation, I think the poet herself, Medea Hasif, may have something to share.
Yes, so why not? I think, Miss Medea, we would certainly want you to kind of recite the part that that Dr. Allama Muhammad Iqbal actually kind of wrote for William Shakespeare as well, and then I'll come back to Chaudhary Sahib to kind of so that he can actually explain it to us as well, whether what was he trying to say and what sort of a tribute was that. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'll do that, but before that, coming back to the importance of English literature or English language, one has to realize that there was a time of colonization where English actually not only took birth, but it spread out far and wide in Africa, in Indo-Pak, elsewhere around the world. And then a lot of Anglo-Saxon, Anglophone literature, poetry, language has been introduced and popularized because of that. And now the translations of that decolonized literature is at every household available because of English. So you cannot deny the importance of English language.
And we're certainly not, which is why we've gathered over here today to kind of highlight its importance. The very basic foundation of this channel, the way we are sitting, happens to be the language English.
Very true.
So Allama Iqbal, gave a huge attribute to Shakespeare, and he said, "Shafake subha ko darya ka kharam aina, shafake subha ko darya ka kharam aina, nagme sham ko khamoshiye sham aina, barge gul aina, arze zebae bahar, शाहिदे मैं के लिए हुजला एजाम आईना, हुस्न आईनाए हक और दिले आईनाए हुस्न, दिले इंसान को तेरा हुस्ने कलाम आईना है, तेरे फिक्र फलक रूह से कलाम हस्ती, क्या तेरी फितरते रोशन थी मलाल हस्ती, तुझको जब दीदार तलब ने ढूंढा, तुझको जब दीदार तलब ने ढूंढा, तबे खुर्शीद में खुर्शीद को पिन्हा देखा, चश्मे आलम से तू हंसती रही मस्तूर तेरी, और आलम को तेरी आँख ने उरियां देखा, हिफ्ज़े असरार का फितरत को है सौदा ऐसा, राज़दां फिर न करेगी कोई पैदा ऐसा.
Wow, wow, wow. I mean, I think this is the beauty over here. So, because we become from a background where we do understand Urdu, but this is how beautiful English language itself is. So, no matter which part of the world you come from, English language actually kind of makes sure that you connect with them as well, which is why I'm going to take this opportunity, advantage of this opportunity, move on to Chaudhary Sahib over here, and I will request him to please, if you can translate this sonnet, so that for our English audiences out there, they can actually understand what the ideological father of Pakistan wrote about William Shakespeare.
Yeah. Well, Shehzad, I think, as I said earlier, and as you said yourself, it's a very important day. English language is the third most popular and used language. But before that, I'll tell you another thing. For the United Nations, it had official 6 languages.
Yes.
That's why a part of the celebration of 23rd April is also multilingualism.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's French, there's other languages as
Exactly.
well, yes.
And also an encouragement to all other languages, both native, indigenous, to also flourish equally.
True.
Because English has a prime role of being probably one of the easiest language to learn and to speak. Now, having said that, I will say the Allama Iqbal, the two personalities in between had about 300 years.
Yeah.
But look, he had thought about Shakespeare, and he admired Shakespeare and recognized Allama Iqbal, himself a great
True.
literature and a
True.
poet, and admired Shakespeare's contribution and the way he wrote it, and particularly sonnet. Now, before I go into the recitation, I would just like to explain in one line. Sonnet is a structured poetry. It's a structured poetry of 14 lines, 3 stanzas of 4 lines each, finally ending with a couplet of 2 lines.
Yeah.
All right, and when I say structure, it has a rhyming system. All right,
Kafiya Radif.
yeah, exactly. And the rhyming words like A B, A B, A B, C D, C D, E F, E F.
Yeah.
And the last couplet G G.
G, G.
This is how it ends in the end.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
That's the beauty. And for Allama Iqbal to get, inspired by that kind of poetry, also speaks very well for the English language.
Wow.
Okay. Although he wrote it in Urdu, he paid tribute to William Shakespeare.
Exactly,
in
and
Urdu.
in our language as
And
well.
I'll tell you another thing, a story. Shakespeare's birthplace is Stratford upon Avon in England. Stratford upon Avon. I went there, and there was a special occasion where the script in English language in a calligraphic manner and the translation both have been painted in a frame and kept in the Museum of Shakespeare
Wow,
in 2010, and I was one of the important guests there.
MashaAllah.
All right? And my friend Rashid Butt, who is a famous calligraphist of Pakistan, internationally famous, he did this script calligraphy of the Urdu version.
Wow.
And the English version.
Which is over there.
So
Wow.
it exists, it is there forever.
Wonderful.
We should be proud about that.
We should be proud of it, and I think that we should actually kind of, this actually kind of highlights the instrumental role that Dr. Allama Muhammad Iqbal has
Exactly.
played in making sure that Urdu actually stands by William Shakespeare as well. Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Now I will recite
Sure.
the English version of the
Sonnet.
sonnet.
Yeah.
It's called Sonnet Tribute to Shakespeare by Dr. Sir Muhammad Allama Iqbal. The title is Shakespeare. The flowing river mirrors the red glow of dawn. The flowing river mirrors the red glow of dawn. The quiet of the evening mirrors the evening song. The flowing river mirrors the red glow of dawn. The quiet of the evening mirrors the evening song. The rose leaf mirrors spring's beautiful cheek. Look at the metaphor. The rose leaf mirrors spring's beautiful cheek. The chamber of the cup mirrors the beauty of the wine.
Wow.
The wine inside the cup.
Wow.
Beauty mirrors truth. Beauty mirrors truth. The heart mirrors beauty. See, vice versa.
True, true, true.
Very interesting, isn't it? The beauty of your speech, talking about Shakespeare, or his writing and poetry, the beauty of your speech mirrors the heart of man. Universal, right? Next couplet. When the eye wished to see you and looked, when the eye wished to see you, Shakespeare, and looked, it saw the sun hidden in its own brilliance. Wow. The qualities that he had, so many calibers, so many things he did in his life, it's all in brilliance. Now,
And sir, I'll come back to this. I'm very sorry, but we really need to head out towards a short break. I'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go anywhere. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned. And after a brief break, ladies and gentlemen, I would certainly want to continue from where I left. It's all about bridging gaps, ladies and gentlemen, which is why, while we were at the Sonnet and we were talking about the tribute which Dr. Allama Muhammad Iqbal actually wrote about William Shakespeare, I think on English Language Day, it is of utmost importance that we can't kind of translate that into English, and Chaudhary Saab will be doing the honors as well. So Chaudhary Saab, please do the honors.
Thank you, Shahzad. The title of the sonnet, Shakespeare, by Sir Dr. Allama Iqbal. The flowing river mirrors the red glow of dawn. The flowing river mirrors the red glow of dawn. The quiet of the evening mirrors the evening song. The rose leaf mirrors spring's beautiful cheek. The rose leaf mirrors spring's beautiful cheek. The chamber of the cup mirrors the beauty of the wine.
Wow.
Wine inside the cup. Beauty mirrors truth. The heart mirrors beauty.
Yeah, I can see that.
vice versa.
The explanation of the sonnet itself, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Beauty mirrors truth. The heart mirrors beauty. The beauty of your speech, the sonnet, and for Shakespeare. The beauty of your speech mirrors the heart of man. William Shakespeare, the man, writes all about life and beauty. Life finds perfection in your sky soaring thought. Life finds perfection in your sky soaring thought. Was your luminous nature the goal of existence? When the eye wished to see you and looked, again, Allama Iqbal addressing Shakespeare. When the eye wished to see you and looked, it saw the sun hidden in its own brilliance. The caliber, the personality, the background, the poet as brilliance hidden from the world. But Allama Iqbal sees that. When the eye wished to see you and looked, it saw the sun hidden in its own brilliance. You were hidden from the eyes of the world, but with your own eyes you saw the world exposed and bare.
Wow, wow, wow. Wow.
Last couplet. 14 lines gone, now the last couplet of 2 lines. And that's the punchline. Nature guards its secrets so jealously. Nature all around you. Nature guards its secrets so jealously. It will never again create one who knows so many secrets.
And that's how exactly you pay tribute to somebody, ladies and gentlemen. Now imagine that, where we speak about how the nature guards secrets. Certainly, that's how Dr. Allama Muhammad Iqbal saw William Shakespeare, that there will be nobody else who'll come close to you as well. I think with this, sir, while we were talking about English Language Day, while we were observing it, I think I'll move on to Sneha too as well. And the reason of me moving on to you is that I actually wanted to ask you over here that when we talk about Dr. Allama Muhammad Iqbal, from Pakistan's perspective and the contributions that he's had to Urdu language, if we are to talk about William Shakespeare, how do you think that these amazing gentlemen have touched upon the very importance and significance and the reach of these languages? Can you kind of explain that to us as well, if you would love to?
Well, I think one thing that's so important about both of these figures is the fact that they live on through art and literature today.
Yep.
So one thing I love about Shakespeare is if you like Lion King, well, you can thank Shakespeare for that because it's based off of Hamlet.
Yeah.
And that's the case with so many different films today, loads of modern rom-coms based on Shakespeare.
Yep.
Lots of things that you see, poetry in Urdu poetry today, there will be inspiration from Iqbal within that poetry.
Yep.
And that is, I think, what really makes these people live on today. I think it's hard to say there is any particular father of English literature or Urdu literature.
Yeah.
But the significance can't be understated of how much it continues to affect culture.
So how would you highlight the service that they have rendered towards the language that they have spoken?
I think what we can do to actually remember them well and to memorialize them properly is also by seeking new literature in the modern day as well, because that was the beauty of both of them. I mean, Shakespeare famously actually for his time wasn't considered as high class literature or anything like that, part of the reason he invented new language is because he was speaking the language of the people.
Yeah.
It was actually quite revolutionary to have plays in simple English for the time available to everyone. So I think one thing that we should do to remember them well is also to look out there and see what Urdu poetry there is today, what English playwrights there are today, what is innovative today,
True.
and creating new
Very
things
true.
for everyone to reach.
And that certainly becomes our responsibility, and I believe that that the service that they have rendered towards their languages, I think it's our responsibility for us now to kind of understand, pick up on their work as well. And we do have an individual who picked up on a lot of poetry as well, and that happens to be Ms. Madhya. We were speaking about sonnets as well. Would you like to kind of express how important role that they have played, both of these individuals, in bringing not just these languages but these nations together?
Okay, so first of all, Sneha has just talked about the role of literature. The role of literature is to promote language,
Yep.
right? So this is how the colloquial language,
the language of the diplomats or the language of the royalty, you know, that becomes literature, and
Yep.
then literature moves on from generation to generation, and you know, then it's accepted, and it's spoken, and it's a great service. Like you give, you increase vocabulary through it, right?
True.
So that is one of the sustainable goals nowadays as well. Okay, so how you just asked, can you please repeat that?
Yeah, so I
Mr.
spoke
Minister?
about how languages and these two individuals have played a role not just for the language but for the nations to come together.
See, literature always talks about humanity. It talks about the world as a whole.
Literature speaks
This
about
is
everything, and it's
yes,
not just
and it's-
humanity, right?
No, humanity encompasses everything.
Yeah, okay, yes,
Right?
it does, it does.
It talks about
But
each
every
and
literature will speak
aspect.
about humanity
every,
now.
yeah, this is what I'm saying. So, you know, when they talk about the human emotions specifically, you know, that resonate in each one of us.
Can you give us like an example from poetry where you do think that such an emotion is resonating in that particular part of that literature?
Okay.
Because I think that'll be an example for people to understand now as well. Because you said that yes, literature speaks of it. Why don't you present us a scenario over here?
Okay. Okay. Now
I mean, I know
have to
that I
take-
might have been putting you at this part as well. You can take your time.
Yeah. Let me come.
Yeah.
we
So
can
you
get back
take your
to it,
time.
please, yes.
Meanwhile, there's
Yes.
another bit of conversation that I wanted to have. Now, I think Sneha, because we certainly need to be in line with where the generation is headed. We have seen, where, these days we will come up, there's so many singers that people love these days as well. For example, Drake, one of the greatest hit rappers as of today, everybody follows him, everybody loves him, may it be Eminem from our time. Now, the point of conversation which I would love to have over here is that, sir, and I would want you both to be kind of part of this. It's not really an argument, but I'm just putting it in front of you. Now, people say that if you are to speak someone's language, you need to pick up their accent, you need to see how they speak, you need to really realize, how they use emotions as well, connecting with what Ms. Madhya actually said. Do you agree to that? Because imagine that now, for example, if I'm going to go to Malaysia, Malaysians will have their own Malaysian accent towards English, right? Whichever way they would want to speak. If you go to India, Indian people will have their own, way of speaking English. You come to Pakistan, there will be a different accent as well. Do you agree to that, or are you like that, okay, if you want to learn language, speak whatever way you want to speak, or do you really think? So which one are you? Are you an advocate of that, or you're not?
Both.
Why?
Okay.
Why?
You see, language is basically a mode of expression,
Yep.
right? And how you do it, how you express yourself, how you pronounce the words,
Yep.
how accent, what you put it,
Yep.
that comes with your practice, what you do. But if you go to another country, for example, Malaysia, and you want to communicate with a Malay there,
Yep.
I was in Malaysia myself,
Yep.
that
Yep.
is a good example. So the person who's speaking it out, he will see whether or not the other person is responding. Okay. Accordingly, he dovetails his language.
Yeah, that's true.
That's the
true.
best.
That's
Like
true.
we diplomats do the same.
Yeah.
We'd first listen to the other person and see what he wants
Yeah.
and how he should respond it. So if I mold it accordingly, to make it more understandable for him.
Yeah.
I think there where the beauty of language lies.
Wow, that's wonderful.
And the way you express it, that's very important.
Exactly.
Isn't it?
So the sole motive is to communicate. That's number one.
Communicate, yeah.
Exactly. But I'll move on to Sneha. Now, Sneha, because you know I'm a regular visitor of the UK myself. You know, it's been 10 years that I've been going twice a year, and so what happens is that, you know, once I'm in Birmingham, you know.
Where I'm from.
Yeah. So what happens is that, you know, if I go to London, people be like, you know, oh, you know, you speak in Birmingham accent, you know. So, you know, and then not just that, you know, people of England themselves like the Irish accent quite a lot, you know. So, and there are other things which they like Irish as well. So how do you think? Do you think that it does matter? Or to the newer generation, do you think it does not matter? Language is beyond boundaries and accent, and if somebody can actually kind of give it a try, that's it. You know, what's your take on that?
I just think language shouldn't be gatekept in any way. So I'm a big fan of seeing language as something that adapts, something that grows, and something that does develop in different ways. Like, as you said, even in the UK, people across different regions will talk completely differently. Some people go to Scotland and are like, wait, what's someone saying?
You know, it take you 5 minutes to kind of understand.
That's
For
true.
me to visit over there, you know, so all of a sudden if I'm from Birmingham, I'm going to Scotland, so, you know, it'll take me a minute to understand what they're trying to tell me. You know, so I'm like, okay, now I have to keep up with the accent as well, because they change. After every 10 miles, I believe that the accent's changing as well.
And that's the beauty of it. That's how you have diverse cultures being represented. And I think what's so beautiful around different countries is that English develops in a different way. You've got dialects like patois, different things that develop, and that actually brings cultures together into the English language.
True.
And that's part of what Shakespeare did, right? By inventing so many different words.
Yeah.
True.
He kept English alive, and that's why he was so good. So why should we stop keeping English alive now?
That's true, and there's another beauty of it. Now imagine that majority of the Pakistanis who live in UK, you know, not just UK, may it be Canada, may it be Australia, wherever the monarch exists as well, you know, so there will always be people getting this opportunity to be a part of that community because of the language English.
And the Balti is now basically an English word because of the influence the South Asian diaspora has had in the UK. Chai is used as an English word, basically.
Exactly.
There's so much that's gone into the vernacular.
Absolutely, Sneha, you're absolutely right. You see, basically, it's the language which matters. And if you're not able to communicate or say something and the other person don't understand, this is where literature comes, the written language.
Exactly, and that's
in the
how
written
rich
language you could reach
and
everything.
that's
you
how
understand.
rich it gets as well. And language, ladies and gentlemen, will always allow you to kind of, you know, give away your emotions, which is why I'm going to get back to Miss Madhya over here. I think she is a valid example over here.
Yes, actually coming back to your question, I was just thinking of one of the soliloquies in Hamlet, and where he says, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's commutely, the pangs of disprised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office and the spurns, and the patient merit of the unworthy takes. So he's talking about not only the loss of love, but he's talking about the office, the government, the delays, the corruption, right? Similarly, Iqbal, you know, while we were becoming, while this two-nation theory was becoming a hype, he tried through his poetry, through his prose, through his verse, to just bring out that self-respect, you know, and to change what was going wrong. You know, he wanted to bring the righteous in the front.
True.
So this, when you ask how do they, you know, resonate with each other, this is one of the examples.
Exactly.
That both of them wanted the best for their nations. Both of them, through their words, through their writings, wanted to bring out the just in the society.
Exactly, and in addition to that, you know, I don't know whether a lot of people know it or not, but Dr. Allama Muhammad Iqbal, because Qaid-e-Azam Muhammad Ali Jinnah, the founding father of the country, actually kind of quit politics, and it was Dr. Allama Muhammad Iqbal who actually went to him, convinced him that if there's somebody who can do it, it's only you as well. But thank you so much, you know, for joining us on this occasion as well. It was wonderful to have you all to speak about the importance of English language, and not just that. I think, ladies and gentlemen, whenever, you know, it's more like, you know, how you throw a pebble into a pond and, you know, you would get that ripple effect. It always comes back as well. I think that the sole motive of Pakistan television or PTV World to exist today is to make sure that the world knows about how Pakistan is, and that too in the language English. Now imagine that for it to kind of allow us to kind of communicate with the rest of the world, kind of allows us to encompass, you know, how we certainly want to be seen in the world as well. I think it's a win-win for all the countries out there as well, you know, who would certainly want to take advantage of this opportunity. Thank you so much, sir, Salahuddin Sahab, for
Can I
being with
add a
us.
comment?
Sure, sir, why not?
Sorry to.
Yeah.
You see, you just said win-win situation.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about English language, it does not mean you do at the cost of other languages.
Exactly.
And that is why, like Sneha and Madhya said, the culture matters.
And that's why I said win-win.
Win-win. That's
so
my
maybe
beauty.
any language, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure. You know, I myself happen to be an avid learner of languages as well, which is why towards the end, sir, you know, I'm going to share a couplet in Punjabi. You know, but thank you so much, Joy, for being with us. Thank you so much, Sneha, for being with us. Thank you so much, Madhya, for being with us. For everybody who's out there, ladies and gentlemen, one couplet from my side in Punjabi, and that is that कुछ बहुत खूबसूरत लोग भी चंगे नहीं हुंदे, कुछ बहुत खूबसूरत लोग भी चंगे नहीं हुंदे, कुछ दिलां दे शौक भी चंगे नहीं हुंदे, इको राह दिल दा चंगा, दिलां च बथेरे चौक चंगे नहीं हुंदे. Allah Hafiz, good morning, look after yourselves. Thank you so much.